In a horrific incident, a 24-year-old woman was killed inside her hostel in Bengaluru by a man who slipped into the building late last night. This is what police has said on Wednesday. In fact, this woman, identified as Kriti Kumari from Bihar, was living in a PG accommodation in Bengaluru's Koramangala. The unidentified man entered the building around 11 p.m. on Tuesday night with a knife, and he slit Kriti's throat before fleeing the scene. Cops have said that the motive behind this murder is not clear yet, but the police are also checking CCTV footage in the area to identify the attacker. I have my colleague Pratibha Raman joining us with more details on this. This is, Pratibha, monstrous crime, and the beast, of course, still in the open. We don't know as to what really the motive was. The police seem to be still checking the CCTV, visuals. So tell us, what is the investigation going on this front, and what is the police exactly doing?
In fact, we do have a CCTV footage from inside the PG where the incident seems to have occurred. And this has definitely captured the brutal incident. And that is one main evidence that the police is examining tight with respect to capturing the victim, with respect to capturing the accused there. But also with respect to the investigation, 3 teams have been formed by the Commissioner of Police who are on the manhunt for this accused. The case has been taken up and the investigation is on in full swing. But then the incident seems to have happened on Tuesday, and the police have still not managed to nab the accused. All eyes are on the kind of safety that women will have in any kind of situation in Bengaluru, the crime rates with respect to Bengaluru. All of these questions have definitely risen with respect to this particular incident that happened on Tuesday. We also know that it was a 24-year-old woman who was killed inside her hostel. The CCTV footage captures the man slipping into the hostel, opening the door, and the woman fights him off but still succumbs to the entire outrage, violence of this man. And we still have to wait to see whether the police would be successful in its hunt with respect to the accused. Back to you.
Right. Thank you, Pratibha, for joining us with those details. We also have the reaction from the Bengaluru Police Commissioner. Let's listen into what he said today.
As regards the murder of a girl in a PG accommodation in the limits of Koramangala police station, the case has been taken up and the investigation is going on in full swing. We have made 3 teams to apprehend the culprit. The police teams are working on it, and very shortly the accused will be apprehended.
Joining us now is Sanjay Sahai, former ADGP of Karnataka, and Brinda Adige, who's an activist, social activist. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. I was looking at the visuals, and this is very scary. And to you, Mr. Sahai, first, NCRB data has always pointed to Bengaluru being a peaceful city. The kind of crime that has been happening in the last few years, of course, show that bigger cities have their share of problems. There is a backside to migration, urbanization, rapid urbanization. So how do you see a crime like this happening in Bengaluru? And my heart goes out for this woman, 24-year-old, coming from Bihar to make a living, staying in one of the PGs and getting killed like this.
There is no denying the fact that this was a very, very gruesome murder, and somebody finding place into the accommodation of the woman, and that also in days today wherein there is a huge amount of work which has been done for women's safety. And coming back to the way Bangalore has developed, primarily for single women and lots of other people who have come here or who come here to make a living and make a destiny. So that has completely changed the ecosystem. Bangalore being a peaceful place and where there's huge amount of law and order concerns were not there. So that has completely changed. Paying guest remains one of the most unregulated industry. And the security guards which provide security to PG accommodations and variety of other things, see, they are not very trained people, either by way of the nature of the people they are protecting or also by the concern. Third and equally important is the CCTV. And whatever we heard from the residents close by in a couple of these TV interviews, most of these women say that there is not too much of a police presence. So that is one part of the reality. The second part of the reality is that at whatever level the CCTV is there, at least we have the picture of the assailant.
Right.
And that picture of the assailant, I presume that has led to identification, and these three teams are working for the arrest of that particular assailant. So that seems to be the only saving grace. With regards to people entering and coming out of PGs, I don't think there are any guidelines, and there is no owner of the PG who will take the responsibility of the security, but for the superficial part of it,
Right.
that is primarily having CCTVs and security guards. So this is broadly where we stand. And in last 30-35 years, from 40 lakh population, we are at 1.6, 1.7. And the total number of working population, primarily in the IT industry, so it crosses a million. And young people come to Bangalore to make a living. And the nature of security which we provide is certainly not fair-safe or certainly not satisfactory.
That's very important, Mr. Sai. Brinda, you can see those visuals there. The girl is trying to fight back, but she's being pulled out. And this man, of course, is stronger than her. He's overpowering her. And there's an important point that Mr. Sai made, and that is with regard to how unregulated this whole sector is. And everywhere in Chennai, in Bengaluru, in Hyderabad, we see these boards to let, PG available. But how safe are women there, and these are not even, 24 is hardly 2 years after you graduate from college. So I'm wondering how horrible a family would be feeling right now.
We must place on record that women's safety and security across India is a huge challenge. That said, PGs don't really have any kind of regulation. There is no monitoring that is happening. But I also want to bring in another point over here, that the struggle that she's been having with her perpetrator is for quite a few minutes, and she has been shouting and screaming. Have we as a society become very indifferent, very callous and apathetic? Could somebody not come out and help her because they did hear the screams? And what about the PG management and those who are running these PGs? They are not being held responsible at all.
Yeah.
The security guards are, literally for namesake.
Right.
Not that they do anything much over there. And PGs, like you mentioned, there are dime a dozen, everybody putting up a board over there.
Right.
So it is time for the government to start monitoring all of it, bringing in some kind of an SOP over there, saying that you have to be registered, the local police must have information, and there are certain protocols and rules that absolutely have to be followed.
Right.
But that said, yes, safety is a huge concern, security is a huge concern, and it is appalling and shocking that a 24-year-old girl from Bihar, she might have known this person, we don't know, acquaintance, whoever it might be. But the impunity with which he has come in, struggled, stabbed her so many times and slit her throat also goes to show that he's not bothered.
Yeah.
He's not scared.
Yes.
So that also means we have to look at our police and our justice system with that perspective. Is the rule of law something that they have forgotten or people are not scared of? They don't think that they might get caught, they would be punished and they would be in jail? Is it so easy to get acquitted? So all of these are questions that raise. Of course, yes, PGs must be held responsible. They cannot be absolved of this.
But the larger collective responsibility of society, that's a very good point. Mr. Sahai, would you like to, there's this apathy of spectators, of witnesses, of people who, are supposed to be in some ways, moral guardians of the society. There are so many rooms there. I'm sure there could have been somebody who could have heard that noise. But we've seen this repeatedly happening. I remember just a few months ago in Delhi, we had this Shadab Dairy violence where there was a girl who was basically assaulted by her former boyfriend. He could not take that kind of rejection. We've seen a murder happening in one of the most, one of the busiest stations in Chennai, Nungambakam. That was of a IT employee, and that boy also, I remember, used to stay in one of those hostels. Mr. Sahai, how do you see these multiple challenges for working women, especially, young girls graduating, trying to make it big in bigger cities? But the visuals that you're seeing now is in some ways a warning to all young girls out there that these are going to be stumbling blocks and you are going to be responsible for your own safety because the society and police are going to do only limited things for you.
We have created a very, very scary environment for working women and even for college girls. We had this Neha case in Hubli and in broad daylight, see, guys are not ready to accept any rejection. What is the connection with this girl and the assailant? Knowing,
yeah, we don't know that at all. We don't know
these are
anything about the motive of that case at all. That I completely get. Sometimes he may not even be known to the girl.
Not knowing is immaterial.
Yes, absolutely.
So that is a non-issue. The bigger issue is complete indifference by anybody who is in the PG, and more so of the security who has not come onto the scene. And this fellow should have caught then and there. And like your coaching center, PG has become a huge industry. Let's accept that this is an industry. If it is an industry, it has to be regulated in that particular manner. And there is a need, at least in Bangalore and I presume in other bigger places also, that there should be a PG regulating authority, some authority, which is regulatory in nature, which audits PGs.
Right.
I know of a PG many years back, I'll tell the name also, in National Games Village. In 3-bedroom, 14 girls were there.
Right.
Correct. So, not the unregulated nature. See, police will go to one level. Beyond that level, they don't take the responsibility.
Right.
The owner does not take any responsibility. So, everybody is having its fast buck and leaving the security to the girl itself.
Right.
Or to the students themselves. And the companies are not ready to provide the nature of transportation, accommodation and security because that adds to their cost.
Absolutely.
So the security is adding to everybody's cost. And post Nirbhaya, I think nearly 2,600 crores have been allotted for 6-7 cities in this country, inclusive of 600-700. For Bangalore, where the main objective has been CCTV for this particular thing and lots of other infra which needs to happen. This single window thing also has to operate and PG setup also has to be part of the single window.
So last word from you, Brinda Adike, as we, increase our expectations from our girls, are we also giving them that kind of security support, emotional support? Are women finding more people that they can confide in when it comes to issues like stalking or for that matter, these kind of crimes? How do they feel about it? If there's something that they are really scared of, do you think that that's one thing that we really lack, the ability to provide the kind of support network or support system that women of today, young women of today need?
Absolutely, Vasudha. One is that they have nowhere and nobody that they can freely and confidentially speak to them. They might only have their suspects, but even that suspicion, people do not want to believe the woman. 2, a lot of burden on the woman to be safe. You take care of your safety. You learn to protect yourself. But we are not telling anything about the perpetrators, usually who are men, that you dare not do this because you will be punished. So these 2 things we have to keep in mind. And I think the helplines in the cities must spruce up. Rather than questioning and suspecting the caller who may be reporting an incident and asking all kinds of questions to the caller, there has to be a very sensitive and speedy response if somebody wants to make a complaint. And also, if somebody wants to speak about a suspicion that they are being stalked or they fear for their life, that should be taken seriously.
Right.
It is not taken seriously because all the time the police ask for a lot of proof, even though the law is very clear.
Absolutely.
So that said, responsibilities on the community and the state agency is very high. And of course, the PGs must be
absolutely. That I think is something that is paramount. Thank you, Brinda Adike. Thank you, Mr. Sahai, for joining us on this broadcast.